everyone. Welcome back to the classes. How are you all? I hope you all are good. You all are doing very well. So, have you watched the last session which we have discussed? Like about the chapter which we have started, that is weather, climate, and adaptation. So, do you remember what we have discussed in the last session? So it's just that student, we have discussed about the weather, we have discussed about climate, and then we have seen that what are the elements of weather. And in that we have come to know this thing that the weather is you can say it is a change which is for a short period of time, and the climate which is for a long period of time. Exactly. And then the elements of the weather we have discussed that are temperature, sun, rainfall, humidity, and what we can say wind speed. So all these are the elements of weather. Now today we are going to discuss about the adaptation, like how the animals are adapting to different regions, like adaptation of animals in these different regions: polar region, tropical rainforest, tropical region, and migration. So we'll see all that part. Fine, students. Because what happens, student, if you have noticed that in like if any place which is very colder in nature, so the type of animals which we have observed there, they are having like they are having fur type of skin, that is the woolen kind of skin, so that they don't get any harm, not exactly harm, so that they don't get cold, because because it is having a cold temperature there. Fine. So we'll see that how the animals are adapting to the nature or the region where they are living. So just starting with the session now. So it's the adaptation of animals, like how they are surviving into different areas. So animals are adapted to survive in conditions in which they live. Not only we are talking about animals, we are talking about human beings as well. Like, see, student, if I ask to you that if you are living in a very colder place, and if I ask you to go to some very hot place, so you will be feeling very hot at that point because you are adapted to very cold place. So similarly, student, animals adapted to their survival or the condition where they are living. So that's the adaptation of animals. Animals living in very cold and hot climate must possess special features to protect themselves against the extreme cold or heat. As I have told you, students, like if you remember, like in the very colder places, like where the snowfall is there, so the animals which are present over there in such places, they are having some kind of woolen skin, so that they will be not getting affected by the cold. And even those students, that the animals which are living in a very hot area where the temperature is very high, so they are not having that fur type of skin, because if they are having that type of skin, so they will be getting more heat generated. So that's how student people, or the if we talk about animals, so they live in condition and they survive in those conditions in which they are living from a long time, because they are adapted to that particular condition. Fine, students. Now for that, I am going to show you one video over here, and I hope you will be liking that video. So here it is.
Introduction. Children, do you know that few animals like ground squirrels and other rodents undergo hibernation during winter? They do so to beat the cold and food shortage during those days. How do birds beat cold during winter? Birds' feathers provide very good insulation against the cold. Also, they fluff out their feathers to create air pockets, which give extra insulation in cold climates. Objectives.
So students, you have noticed like they are telling that the birds are having fur or like woolen kind of stuff, so that they are not getting affected by cold, because we human beings can protect ourselves by changing our clothes. Like for winter we are having woolen clothes, for summer we are having cotton clothes, but for the animals they are not getting clothes, na, that they are not getting clothes from any source. So that's a student, God has gifted them their own clothes, so that they will be surviving into different conditions. So similarly, that birds are having fluffy kind of like you can say cloth over their body, and which is gifted by the god to them, so that they can protect themselves from the winter season. Exactly. Otherwise, how they are going to survive? Because the temperature is going to be very low, and if the temperature is low, so they will be getting affected by that cold, and that's how they are having their structure of their body in such a way, or the outer covering of their body, so they will be not getting affected by the cold. So that's a student, we have to see the adaptation of animals.
At the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain adaptation, Discuss climate of polar regions and tropical rainforest regions. Describe adaptation of different animals of polar and tropical rainforest regions to the climate. There are countries that have set polar and tropical rainforest region. Polar regions are situated near the north and south poles. Some countries of this region are Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Alaska, and Siberia. Some countries where the tropical rainforests are found are India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brazil, Republic of Congo, Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria. The polar regions have an extreme climate. The whole region is covered by snow, and almost throughout the year it is cold. Sun does not set at the poles for 6 months, but for the other 6 months, there is no sunrise.
So students, it depend upon the road, like the how the earth is getting revolved around. Like you can see now that the sun is there, so the earth is there. So the you can see some of the areas or some of the countries are not getting proper sunlight also. So that's how student, it depends upon the region, like where this country has been located or the situated over the earth. So that they are getting different region. For example, as in the polar region, we have noticed that it is having a very extreme condition, like the snowfall is there. So for that student, you can see that whenever there is condition, when there is a high snowfall, that means the temperature is very low, and because of that student, the only animals which are having their body covered with the fur kind of structure or with the woolen kind of structure, so they are only able to survive at that places. Okay, that for example, we are having polar bears. Polar bear student, if you have noticed, so they are having a white covering, like they are having a woolen kind of structure over their body, so that they are protecting themselves from that cold. Fine.
The temperature can be as low as minus 40 degrees Celsius during this period. Adaptation of polar bear. Fur. Thick fur keeps body warm in frigid air and water. White fur helps for camouflage in ice and snow and reflects the heat lost through the skin back into its body. Big paws. Broad paws spread body weight on ice and helps in swimming. Claws. Curved in shape to dig through ice. Teeth. Jagged, suiting carnivorous eating habit. Nostrils. Helps in breathing, but are closed well inside water. Small ears and tails. Short in size to minimize heat loss. Fat layers. Helps to keep warm by insulation. Adaptation of.
So students, have you noticed like the structure, the whole structure of polar bear is made by God only. Like we are not making them, na. It's just that these all are the struggle, or these all are the properties, or these all are the physical, you can say physique of the polar bear is just gifted by the God to them, so that they can survive in the polar region. Because in the polar region, the temperature is going to be very down. Exactly, maybe around minus 40 degrees Celsius. So you can imagine, like if you are living in a place which is having a temperature of minus 40 degrees Celsius, and you will be not having any woolen clothes, so that's how student people can die also. Exactly, because of the temperature is very low, na. So that's how your blood will getting, like it got freezed. You can't move your hands because the temperature is very low. So that's how student, the polar bear is one of those animal which live in the polar region, because they are having structure like that. They are having thick fur over their body, which is protecting them from that colder region, from that cold temperature. So that's how student, this is the adaptation of animal. Now if you observe that if this polar bear is going to be placed from the polar region to some of the area which is having the very high temperature, so you can imagine that how they are going to survive there, because they are having thick fur over their body. So the temperature is very high already. That thick fur is making their body very heat, and even though the temperature is very high, so you can imagine that there will be the condition that they are not able to survive in such areas. So because of that, student, animals have adapted to their survivals or to the regions where they are living according to the condition, like high temperature, low temperature. So that's how. Fine. Now we'll see the another one.
Penguin. You must have seen the images of penguin. They are white, so merge well with the white background. They also have a thick skin and a lot of fat to protect them from cold. Penguins generally huddle together to keep themselves warm. They are good swimmers. Their bodies are streamlined and their feet have webs to help swimming. Other animals living in polar region are various types of fishes, musk oxen, reindeers, foxes, seals, whales, and birds. You might have heard that Siberian birds come to Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary in India every year in winter. Why do they come to India? Because during winter, India has much warmer climate compared to Siberia. They go back to their place when winter is over. Select and drag the correct option in respective boxes.
So students, like we have observed this thing that according to the condition, according to the temperature of different regions, we can see that the animals are adapting their survival according their condition, because God has already gifted them that those structure. For example, student, if we take India, like India, if I'm taking in the example, so if we talk about Rajasthan, so student, Rajasthan is one of those places which is having the very maximum temperature in the summer season. So the so you can think, student, that the animal generally which we find here, that is the camel. So camels are not having any fur, thick fur over their body or any kind of fat layer over their body, so that they get protect themselves from that winter region, because they are living in the hotter area, and that's why they are adapted to that survival. So that's how they are not getting any problem in that. So that's how, student, animals, or if we talk about human beings also, so we are adapted to our survivals, to the conditions where we are living. And it's just that we human beings are having the variety of clothes, that we can change our clothes according to the conditions. For example, right now, today I am living in such a place which is colder in nature, so I can protect my body by wearing woolen clothes, by wearing my sweaters, my coats, my blazers. But it's just that, student, if I'm going to some of the places which is hotter in region, so what I can do, I can start wearing some very lightweight clothes like cotton shirts, t-shirts, and something like that. But it's like that, student, animals are not getting clothes. Exactly. So that's how they have already such kind of body structure or such kind of skin, so that they are protecting themselves from the colder region, and they are also surviving in the hotter region depending upon their structure. That's how, student, if you're sending any of the camel to the polar region, so you will be seeing that they are not able to survive there, because they are not having that type of adaptation. So it's all about the adaptation of animals, that they are living in a particular areas, a particular region, and they are having their particular climate, and they are adapted to that climate. And that's how you can see, student, that because of that, if we are migrating them from one place to another, generally, like if you see for the polar bear, if I say that polar bear must come to some hotter region, so they are not able to survive, so because they are adapted to the colder regions only. But we have some of the animals which migrate, like if you have noticed that that we have seen that the birds are coming from Siberian to India according to the condition. So that's how, student, we can also see the migration. But it's just that animals living into their particular regions, they are adapted to that survival. Okay. Now we have talked about very much about the adaptation of animals. Now we are talking about the different region. So the very first region is the polar region, and as we have seen that the polar regions are having extremely cold climate. So the polar regions manifest an extremely cold climate. For most of the year, these areas are extremely cold, covered with snow, that you will be finding a very high level of snowfall in such areas. Sun does not set for 6 months, and one set does not rise for 6 months. So you can see, student, that it's just that that for the 6 months you will be not able to see any sun there, because what happened, that if it is going to set, then for the next 6 months you will be not having sun. That means the whole complete, that you will be just covered with the snow, you will be not getting any heat source from there. So that's how the region, the polar region, is obviously that it is covered with the snow. The temperature in winters can as low as minus 37 degrees Celsius. So students, you can imagine, like 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point of water, freezing point. Okay, and below that you are going to minus 37 degrees Celsius, and sometime it also reaches to minus 50 degrees Celsius as well. So you can imagine that what type of cold will be there. Even though like in our like if we talk about very cold region in India, so they are also having very low temperature, but generally they don't go that much low. Like minus 37, I don't remember whether it has happened any time or not. So it's like they are also low, but not that much. So you can imagine the polar regions are having that much of temperature. That means that you can't even imagine that how we are going to survive at that place. Maybe I will require 10 to 15 blankets to cover myself. So that's how, student, that in the polar region the temperature is very very low. That's why they are extremely cold in nature and they are covered with snow. North Pole region is the Arctic region, while the South Polar region is the Antarctic region. And that these are the polar regions. Like in the North Polar region, you will be getting Arctic, and for the South Polar, you will be getting Antarctic. And both of them are colder in nature only. Cold climate is there. Animals living at both the poles have adjusted to these harsh conditions. As we have seen, students like penguins, polar bears, and other animals. So they all are adapted to that condition because they are having the thick fur over their body so that they can survive. Even though if you have noticed that their claws are also in something like that so that they can move over the snow. Exactly, because student, they are adapted to that condition and they have to survive there only because their body structure is like that. If they are shifting from that polar region to some other region where they are not getting same climate, you will be seeing that they will be facing some problem in their survival. So student, first of all, it's like polar region. Polar region is having extremely cold climate because their temperature is very very low, and that area is generally covered with the snow. And it's like for the North Polar region, it is Arctic region. For the South Polar region, it is Antarctic region. And we have seen that the animals those are living at those places, they have to adjust to the very very harsh condition. Because if you imagine, like sun is not there for the 6 months, so you can imagine how we are going to survive at such place. We can't, because we require sun for our daily life. Exactly. So that's how, student, polar region is a very, you can see it's the extremely cold climate is there. Fine. Now it's the first region. Now moving towards the tropical rainforest region. So tropical region has generally a hot climate because of its location around the equator. That the equator of the earth, it is having the hot climate. Like the polar region, you can see that it is at the south and north pole, and it's like it is having the cold climate. But for the tropical rainforest, it is the hot climate because it is located around the equator. In winter, the temperature are above 15 degrees Celsius, and during summer, it may crosses 40 degrees Celsius. Like in winter, the temperature is not even going below 0 degrees Celsius. It is just above, right, like around 15 degrees Celsius. And it may, but in the summer, it may going to cross over 40 degrees Celsius. So you can imagine if it is going to cross 40 degrees Celsius, if it is 50 degrees Celsius, so how much the temperature, like how much the hotness will be there. Exactly. The climatic conditions in rainforest are highly suitable for supporting an enormous number and variety of animals and plants. Because student, in the tropical rainforest, like why the number of the plants and animals are having more, more there, because it is having both type of condition, winters as well as summer. Because students, some of the plants and animals require the winter climate, but not that much. Like they require the temperature between 15 to 20, and they are getting it in the tropical rainforest. But if you put that plant into the polar region where the temperature is below 0 degrees Celsius, so maybe that plant is not going to survive at that point. Fine. So in the tropical rainforest region, student, we are getting both type of condition like winter and the summer as well. So that's how they are hot climate, because you can see that generally that the temperature is overall, if you see that it is more, like you can see it is high. So that's how we consider it as the hot climate. It is located around the equator, and many of the plants and animals you will be seeing that they are supporting to that climatic condition, because we are getting winter and we are getting summer both. But if we talk about polar region, so you will be seeing that they are extremely cold places where you will not find out the sun for the 6 months. So that means you will be not getting summer at any condition. So that's how polar regions are very cold in climate, like where extremely cold is there. But for tropical rainforest, they are having the hot climatic conditions. Fine. Now for the tropical region, student, like it is the tropical rainforest. Now we'll see some tropical region here. So just give me a second, and because for that we have to watch one video, as I have fun video for you. So maybe you will be enjoying it. So let's start it.
Life in tropical and subtropical regions. The tropical and subtropical areas extend on both sides of the equator up to 30° north and 30° south latitudes. The Amazon basin lies in the tropical zone, while the Ganga Brahmaputra basin lies in the subtropical zone. The two basins are different and diverse in climate, vegetation, and economic and social activities. The Amazon basin has the tallest and densest forests in the world, whereas Ganga Brahmaputra basin is one of the most fertile areas on the earth, which supports a very large population. Amazon basin. The Amazon basin occupies a large.
So students, like tropical region, we are having dense forest there. So it's like that we have talk about two. So one is the Amazon basin and one is the Ganga Brahmaputra basin. So we are talking about this here. Okay.
Large portion of the tropical South America, chiefly the northern and western parts of Brazil. Land and climate. The Amazon basin is bounded by the Guiana Highlands in the north and the Brazilian Highlands in the south. The river Amazon is the world's largest river in terms of volume of water. It rises in the Andes and flows eastward mainly through Brazil. It is fed by a large number of tributaries, forming the largest drainage system in the world. It is the second largest river after Nile, and it flows into the Atlantic Ocean near the equator. It accounts for about 20% of the total water carried to the ocean by rivers. Amazon basin experiences hot and wet climate throughout the year. It rains almost every day in the afternoon.
So students, it's like that Amazon basin. If you have heard that news that some time ago that the Amazon forest got fire because of the global warming is increasing, because Amazon forest is providing greenery to us because it is having the long. I don't even know that how much area has been covered with the forest, and generally the temperature or the climate which we are getting there, it is the hot in nature and wet because it is like that it is the rain there, like at every day there is the rainfall. Fine, students.
And the average annual rainfall is 200 centimeter. Humidity is high throughout the year, making the weather sticky and uncomfortable. But the coastal areas have a more comfortable climate due to the cooling effect of trade winds. Duration of day and night is almost equal, and the average daily temperature is around 27 degrees Celsius. Natural vegetation.
So students, it's like that in the Amazon area, if you have noticed, like it is having humidity, high humidity, and because of that it says that you can see that no people are living there because it is not comfortable for us to live in such humid area because it is having high amount of moisture in it, because we have seen that there is a rainfall at a very regular basis at that place. So so tropical areas are those type of areas where the rainfall is very high and they are having the humidity in their surroundings. That's why it is not comfortable to live there. And you can also imagine that the Amazon forest, they are having different kind of creatures in it. So how we are going to survive there? Exactly. So that's our student. The Amazon basin is one of those.
And wildlife. Since the region experiences high temperature and heavy rainfall throughout the year, the Amazon basin has lush green forests, which remain luxuriant and evergreen. These rainforests are known as selvas, which have several layers of vegetation. The selvas are the Earth's most heterogeneous forest formation, where thousands of species of trees like ebony, rosewood, wild rubber, palm, mahogany, cinchona grow. Shade-tolerant mosses and ferns on the damp ground and on the trunk and branches of trees are also found here. The creepers called lianas are there, but undergrowth is very restricted. Different species of trees grow in a mixed manner, and as such, pure stands of trees are not available. Lumbering is difficult because of the dense growth. Environmentalists have expressed serious concern about the future of these forests because slash and burn agriculture is causing much harm to these forests. The Amazon.
So students like Amazon is providing such greenery to our earth because it is having the layers of trees. Different types of trees are there. But as we have seen that the collection of the wood from such forests, you can see it is harming them. So that's how we have seen that it is also causing a kind of global warming because the greenery is getting less, and if the greenery is getting less, so it is directly or indirectly we can say it is having the negative impact on the environment, and that's why it is also creating an you can say a kind of negative thing on us. Fine. So now you can see here.
Amazon rainforests are rich in wildlife. A variety of monkeys live on the treetop. Other animals include tapirs, anteaters, armadillos, alligators, and many species of bats, including blood drinking vampires. Large cats like jaguar and ocelot are now rare, but pumas are common. Colorful birds like hummingbirds, toucans, and parrots are found, and there are flies, centipedes, butterflies, huge snakes like anaconda, and various types of fishes, including piranha. People, because of the uncomfortable climate.
See students, like this Amazon forest is having so much in it, like different type of trees are there, different type of animals are living, like you can see that the blood drinking vampires. So you can imagine that so much of vegetation is there, like different type of animals are there, different type of wood, you can say wood or plants are there. So that means it is covering up a large part of the earth, and it's just that it is having so many things in it, and because of the high temperature and the wet climate, it is not good for the survival of people. So as we can see here right now,
Climate, the dense forest cover, poor transport facilities, and outbreak of diseases like malaria and yellow fever. The Amazon basin has never been densely populated. The primitive tribals live in the heartlands of the forests. They get their food by hunting, fishing, and forest gathering. Due to the oppressive heat and humidity, it is uncomfortable to cover their body, so they use a small piece of cloth around their waist. They live in small thatched houses built on raised platforms. Hammocks or swinging rest couches are a familiar sight of these places. Advancement in certain regions have created better conditions of life. The more advanced people make their houses on stilt to protect them from water and lurking animals. Their houses are made of mud and wood. Subsistence farming is practiced, and some people go to nearby towns to work in industry and business. The soil of the Amazon basin is not fertile, as the continuous seeping of rainwater through the soil washes down the nutrients to the lower layers. However, the river banks, which are coated with fresh silt every year during floods, have fertile soil. Manioc or cassava is the chief food crop. Other food.
so students, it's like that yes, the animals and the trees are there, variety we are getting from there, but because of the very high temperature and the high rainfall is there is the high humidity in the atmosphere, and because of that people are not able to live there. But there are like small tribes are living there, and they are just surviving their life over the animals, like they hunt them and they eat them, and that's how you can see that they are just surviving, making a hut, and they are living in them because they are not they don't want to explore the modern world because they are just adapted to that condition. So you can also see that it is the adaptation of human beings in the Amazon area. But if I ask you that will you be able to shift yourself from this place to the Amazon place, you will be saying no ma'am, I can't, because it is not possible for me because of that temperature, rainfall, animals. You can see anaconda, drink blood drinking vampires. I can't imagine that I can go for Amazon anyway. So that's our student DNA. So we can see here, after discussing so much about Amazon basin, that it is that the tropical regions are those type of region where the temperature is very high, that you can see that the temperature is high, and along with you will be getting the high rainfall will be there. And because of that student, when there is the high rainfall, it results into the high humidity, and when there is the high humidity, it makes less uncomfortable, like less comfortable for the human beings to survive there. So that's how student polar regions are extremely cold, tropical rainforest region, where you will be getting both type winter and summer, but in the tropical region you will be getting high rainfall. So these are the three regions, and in these three regions we will be finding different type of survivals, like for the animals, for plants, and as well as for human beings also. Because student, it is not obvious thing that we are able to adapt each and every type of condition. Exactly, some of the animals are just, as we have discussed, polar bears are finding in polar areas, polar regions, and it's for the tropical rainforest, it is having both type of nature, winter and summer, so we will be getting more number of plants and animals in such areas. And the tropical region is, as we have just seen, that it is not having human beings there in more number, because of the temperature, because of the rainfall, because of the humidity which is present in the atmosphere. So that's how student people are adapting themselves, or not only people, animals and the plants are also adapting themselves according to their conditions. Now, after the adaptation, student, we are having one topic, that is the migration. Migration is, student, is something like that when we move from one place to the another place, that we called as the migration. For example, like if you are right now living in one place, and for any condition, maybe your father got transferred or something like that, you have to migrate to that place. So moving from one place to another place is called as the migration. Okay, so the movement of organisms in large numbers from one place to another place is termed as migration. The term migration is mainly used to define regular and periodic movements, like which is very much regular in nature, and the periodic movement of the population away from or back to their place of origin. And it's not like that if they are just going and living over there. For example, like if I take my example, if I go to some foreign countries, it's just that I'm going for 3 months and I'm returning back to my own country. So that's the kind of migration. That means I'm just going for a regular period of time, or the periodic movement is there, and I'm just going there and I'm coming back to my place of origin. So that is called as the migration. So now we'll see one video for that, students. So just look at that video. I'll show you.
Hello, friends. Today we'll learn about migration of animals and birds. Many mammals, insects, fishes, birds, and other animals move from one place to another place at certain times of the year. This movement is known as the migration. Animals and birds migrate for many reasons. They migrate with the change of the seasons and the weather. They also migrate to find warmer or nicer weather, better food, or sometimes a safe place to give birth to their young ones. Now the question is, how do they know where and when to migrate? Different signals such as a change in weather, the length of the days, or the availability of food may signal to the animals and birds that it's time to move. Oh, you must be thinking, how do they find their way? Some animals and birds use the stars and sun to figure out the appropriate direction.
So students, like we have noticed in that animals and birds migrate from one place to another place. So what's the reason of that? Maybe the reason is that the change in season. Maybe the reason is that the food availability. Maybe the reason will be that they want to find some safe place. But how they are getting those signals, that where they have to go and when they have to move from one place to another place? So it just that student, they will be getting signal, natural signals, so that they will be moving from one place to another place, and that we called as the migration. Like some birds and some animals will get the some indication from the stars and something like that, so that they will be migrating from one place to the another place.
Others use wind patterns or landmarks, such as mountains, lakes, and rivers, etc. That's interesting. Come on, now let's see different types of migrations one by one. Complete migration. All individuals of this category make the migration every year. For example, bighorn sheep. Partial migration. Some individuals of this category will migrate when the time comes, and some will not. For example, the American robin. Differential migration. These categories have different migration patterns for different classes. Young herring gulls migrate a shorter distance than the older ones. Interruptive migration. These categories do not migrate at all for some years. All or some of them may migrate other years. An example is blue jays. Now you know a lot about migration. It's time to go home.
So students, like we are having different type of migration when all of the individuals are moving from one place to another. So that's how we have divided them into the categories. But it's just that student, they will be getting signal. Now you will be feeling interesting that ma'am, how they are getting that signals and how they are understanding it. So it's just that student, they are like these. This is the understanding of the animal, they or the understanding of birds, that by getting those signals, they start migrating from one place to the another place. Like you can see in search of food, or for search of, you can say, for where whenever there is the change in season. So that's how birds and animals migrate from one place to the another place, and for that we have categorized them according to that how many individual, like all of them are migrating from one place to the another, then we call it as complete migration. When some of them are migrating and some of them are not migrating, that we called as partial migration. So that's how student, we are having different type of migration. But it's just that when the animals or the birds migrating from one place to the another place in search of food or in change, due to the season change, then we called it as the migration. And it's just that they are just visiting that place for some time, and after that they will come back to their origin. Okay.
Let's see some of the super migrations. Arctic tern, longest migration of an animal. Caribou, longest land migration. Northern elephant seal, longest ocean migration. There are simple ways all of us can help migrating animals. We should always break for migrating animals on the road. Place water bowls outside homes to help birds and animals. They need our love and support.
So students, it's like that, like animals are there and birds are there, so we don't, like we are human beings, so we know that how to treat them. Like if a group of animals are going from one place to another, and it's like that, we should give them time so that they can cross the road, and we should not harm them. We should put some water in our balconies or on our terrace so that the birds can drink it, because we can keep care of them. Exactly. So that's how you can keep care of animals or birds, and you can see that because of that you will be getting some benefit, how you will be learning some values from them, from that. Okay.
Please drop a like, leave a comment, share the video.
So that's how student, we have seen that what is the migration is. So migration is that when the movement of organisms, whether it is animals or the birds, when it is take place from one place to the another place, that we termed as migration. And it's like it is on a very regular basis or a periodic movement. And it's just that they move from one place and after some time they return back to their origin, that we called as the migration. And then we have different type of migration, like complete migration, when all of the individuals are moving from one place to the another place, then we call it as complete migration. When some of them are moving and some of them are not moving, then we call it as partial migration. We are having differential migration depending upon these conditions. So student, in this session we have learned about that how the animals are adapting themselves from into different region according to the hot climate, or according to the cold climate. Then we have discussed about some of the region, like polar regions are extremely cold in nature, whereas tropical rainforest, they are having winter and summer both. And for the tropical region, we have seen like Amazon basin, that they are having hot temperature and the high rainfall. Because of that, student, we people are not very much comfortable in living such areas, because of the high humidity in the atmosphere. So that's how student, we have discussed about the regions. Then we have talked about migration, that how the organisms and the animals are migrating from one place to the another place. Okay. After that, we are going to discuss some question here. So the tropical rainforest has a large population of animal. Explain why it is so. As I have told you that it is having both type of region, like hot and humid temperature, and continuous rainfall in the tropical rainforest suit the survival of many animals. Hence, tropical rainforest has a large population of animals. Like it is also having continuous, like it's not like that. It's similar as the Amazon basis. On a very regular basis, it is having both three, like every season, hot, humid temperature, continuous rainfall. It's not like that similar to the tropical area. Like for the Amazon basin, it is like that the rainfall is occurring it every single day. But in some of the areas, it's like that for a particular time there is rainfall. Okay, so that's how a student it is suit the survival of many animals. Then how do elephants living in the tropical rainforest adapt itself? Like because student they are having their uses the trunk as a nose so that they can have a strong sense of smell. The trunk is also used to pick food, as you have seen in many videos that they use their trunk to pick the food. It has modified teeth tear the bark of trees which are food for elephants. Large ear of elephants help it to hear even very soft sound. Ears help the elephant to keep cool in the hot and humid climate of the rainforest because they are having that big size ear and those big size ears helping them to hear a very soft sound as well. So all such condition make them elephants proper, you can say that they can be properly surviving into the rainforest region. That means they have adapted to that condition. Okay, so with that student we have completed this chapter. Now it's your duty to watch all of the videos with a great attention. And now after watching the video, if you are having any doubt, any question is there, you can post your question on public or private forum of Ask IITians, and you will be getting answer from the expert side. And with that student we have completed this chapter. And thank you very much for watching this video and keep learning from Ask IITians. Thank you.